Attention passionate Pittsburgh Steelers fans. Latest news, something big is happening in the AFC North and it could change the game. We're talking about a direct impact on Pittsburgh Steelers' path to another Super Bowl run, a power shift that could leave a division rival stumbling for years. We're bringing this to you firsthand. But before that, if you're a true Pittsburgh Steelers fan, subscribe to the channel to strengthen this passion even more. Show that you're also part of this family. Let's help each other reach 1,000 subscribers. Share with your friends and Pittsburgh Steelers fans. Let's get to the news. As we all know, the Pittsburgh Steelers are a franchise steeped in history, tradition, and a relentless pursuit of excellence. And folks, right now, as we speak, there are whispers, rumors, and discussions swirling around about what the team might do to elevate their roster for the upcoming season. The summer break has officially begun after the minicamp wrapped up Thursday, and while the players are taking some well-deserved rest, the buzz in the Steelers universe is just heating up. Because, let's be honest, this team always seems to find a way to stay in the headlines, and this offseason is no different. Fans are eager, analysts are speculating, and the front office is probably working behind the scenes to make some strategic moves that could define the season. Now, during minicamp, one thing that stood out was the confidence shown by the coaching staff, particularly wide receivers coach Zach Azzanni, who publicly expressed his belief in Calvin Austin III. Azzanni believes Austin is ready to step into the role of the team's WR2, a promising sign for Steelers fans who have been waiting for the young speedster to finally showcase his potential. But of course, in the NFL, nothing is ever set in stone, and the rumor mill is always turning. Over the next few weeks, expect plenty of speculation about whether the Steelers will add another wide receiver to bolster their depth and talent at that position. And speaking of potential additions, one name that has recently been floated around is Nelson Agholor, the veteran wideout with a somewhat polarizing career. CBS Sports' Cody Benjamin highlighted Agholor as a possible target for the Steelers this summer, and it's not hard to see why. Agholor, who is now 32, has played for several teams, most notably the Philadelphia Eagles, the Las Vegas Raiders, the New England Patriots, and most recently, the Baltimore Ravens. His journey in the NFL has been a roller coaster, with moments of brilliance but also stretches of disappointment. Still, his experience and occasional flashes of big play ability make him an intriguing option for a team looking to add a veteran presence and some depth at wide receiver. Let's dig into Agholor's background a bit because, as Steelers fans, it's good to understand what he could bring to the table. He was a first-round pick back in 2015, selected 20th overall by the Eagles. That was a time when expectations were sky-high, and his rookie season showed promise. But as the years went by, his consistency was questioned, and he became somewhat of a polarizing figure among fans and analysts alike. Still, Agholor's best moments, like that memorable Super Bowl run with the Eagles in 2017, are etched into NFL history. He shed the label of a first-round bust and carved out a role as a versatile, if not spectacular, secondary option. In recent seasons, especially with the Ravens, Agholor hasn't quite hit the high marks many expected, but he's shown flashes that suggest he still has something to offer. Last year with Baltimore, he caught 14 passes for 231 yards and 2 touchdowns. Nothing earth-shattering, but enough to remind teams that he can be a deep threat when used correctly. His yards per reception last season was around 16.5 yards, which indicates he still has that ability to stretch the field, something the Steelers could definitely use. And if you look back to some of his performances against Pittsburgh, you see the potential. In the playoffs last season, he made a 25-yard catch on his only target against the Steelers, and during Week 5 of the 2023 season, he averaged 16 yards per reception against Pittsburgh. Lamar Jackson loved throwing deep to Agholor last season, and that kind of chemistry, if the Steelers were to bring him in, could be a boon. Sure, he only averaged about 1 catch per game, and with just 29 targets over the season, it's clear he wasn't the primary focus in Baltimore's offense. Still, the yards per catch tell a different story. He's capable of making those big plays. Especially in a Steelers offense that's been looking to be more explosive, Agholor's skill set could fit nicely, particularly as a veteran presence who can be used situationally to stretch defenses. Now, before we get ahead of ourselves, it's important to consider the financial aspect. Agholor played last season on a one-year deal worth around $75 million with the Ravens. That's a pretty modest investment for a team like the Steelers that's always looking for value. But the question is, does he really move the needle? Pittsburgh already signed veteran Robert Woods, who, while not a big play threat like Agholor, brings his own veteran experience and route-running savvy. Woods is a solid player who can work the middle and provide reliable targets, but he's more of a possession receiver. He doesn't have the same deep threat capability that Agholor might bring, and that's where the debate comes in. The Steelers also have a young core of receivers behind the top two, DK Metcalf and Austin, who are expected to lead the charge. Behind them, guys like Roman Wilson, a third-round pick from this year's draft, along with Scotty Miller, Ben Skowronek, Brandon Johnson, Lance McCutcheon, Rock Taylor, Keshawn Williams, and Montana Lemonius-Gregg, are all vying for opportunities. The competition at wide receiver is fierce, and it will be interesting to see how the team manages the depth chart once training camp begins. A veteran like Agholor could push some of these younger players or fill a specific role if the coaching staff sees him as a good fit. But let's also take a step back and look at what the Steelers are building toward. Mike Tomlin's team has always been defined by its toughness, resilience, and a strong defensive identity. But in recent seasons, especially with the quarterback situation still somewhat in flux, the offense has struggled at times to produce the big plays necessary to compete at the highest level. That's why the addition of a veteran receiver, even one like Agholor, who might not be a household name, could be a strategic move to add depth and explosiveness. It's about building a balanced attack, and with the way the AFC North is shaping up, teams like the Cincinnati Bengals, Baltimore Ravens, and Cleveland Browns all making moves, the Steelers need to keep pace and even gain an edge. And speaking of the division, the AFC North is arguably one of the most competitive, unpredictable divisions in football right now. The Bengals, with Joe Burrow leading an explosive offense, are always a threat. The Ravens, with Lamar Jackson's dual-threat ability, remain dangerous, especially if their new additions or draft picks step up. The Browns, with their revamped roster and the potential return of Deshaun Watson in full form, could be a wild card. So the Steelers have to be strategic, smart, and perhaps even a little bold to stay ahead. Adding depth at wide receiver, especially with someone who can stretch the field and provide veteran leadership, could be just what they need to push over the top. But of course, the offseason is also about development and patience. The Steelers have a talented core, but they also understand that injuries and unforeseen circumstances can change everything in a blink. That's why they've been cautious but also proactive. Bringing in a guy like Agholor would give them options. He's familiar with the division, has playoff experience, and could be an affordable addition that doesn't disrupt the salary cap or the team's long-term plans. Now, for the fans listening, it's worth noting that the team's current roster is shaping up to be a mix of seasoned veterans and promising young talent. The front office has shown a willingness to add experienced players to help mentor the younger guys, and Agholor fits that mold perfectly. His ability to line up both inside and outside gives the Steelers some flexibility, and if he's motivated, he could be a sneaky good addition, especially in certain packages or situational plays. And remember, this isn't about replacing the stars. It's about supplementing the core and creating healthy competition, which is always good for team dynamics. Looking ahead, training camp is just around the corner, and that's when we'll see how these puzzle pieces fit together. Will Agholor or another veteran join the roster? Will the Steelers stick with their current group and see how the youngsters develop? One thing is for sure, the team's focus remains on contending, and every move they make is geared toward making a deep playoff run. The AFC North will be fierce, but Pittsburgh is always in the mix, and with the right pieces, they could be even better than last season. So fans, as we keep our eyes peeled for more news, don't forget to stay engaged, keep sharing your thoughts, and let's see how this story unfolds. The Steelers have a proud history of overcoming odds, making bold moves, and always fighting to the end. This offseason is no different, and the potential addition of a guy like Nelson Agholor is just one of many chapters that could shape their journey this year. Remember, it's this passion, this dedication, that makes being a Steelers fan so special. We're all in this together, and I promise to be right here with you, bringing all the latest updates, analysis, and insights as we head toward another exciting NFL season. And now, Pittsburgh Steelers fans, I want to hear from you. What's your take on this? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think Agholor or another veteran could be the missing piece? Or are you confident in the young guys already on the roster? Your opinion matters so much to us and to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And don't forget, I'll be back soon with more updates, so stay tuned for the latest Pittsburgh Steelers news. This team has a story to tell, and we're all part of this incredible journey. Thanks for watching, and as always, let's go Steelers!